This episode is brought to you by Surfshark. What is Surfshark? It's an app. It's a browser extension, and it basically helps you protect your stuff. And it also allows you to find things that you normally wouldn't be able to because they block it. They say, yeah, you can't access it. And Surfshark says, yes, you can. It allows you to change your IP address to unblock content that you couldn't see otherwise, and you have access to the app itself. You log on where you are. For me, look, I'm in LA. I hit the button, boom, boom, boom. It says you're accepted, and then you start searching for your stuff. It's that easy. It's really great also because, especially, I get people all the time talking to me about Netflix. Did you see this stuff on Netflix that I was able to see? And I'm like, no, because I don't live in that country. It's like, well, again, Surfshark goes, hey, use your app. You'll be able to see it. And that's what you do. You log in, you go and you check it out, you pick the country, and you watch it. One of the other important things is that it encrypts your data and it puts an extra level of protection on it. That's the thing. That was the absolute for me, is that it keeps all your personal information safe. And you want to be secure, and that's how the internet is, guys. And when you have somebody like Surfshark, that helps you get that extra layer of protection. The other thing I really like about Surfshark is the fact that you can have access to every device. It's not just one. And a lot of times that's what happens. Like, well, you're using it on your laptop, so you can't use it on your phone, or you can't use it on your iPad, or you can't use it on this. Surfshark says, no, you can use it on everything. It is unlimited. Use it on everything you want. So it's that simple. Look at all the great stuff already that I've told you that Surfshark provides. And how do you benefit? Well, you use my code BIGTHING. That's right. If you use that code BIGTHING, it will provide you guys with an exclusive deal. 3 extra months for free. That's right. So if you go to surfshark.deals/bigthing, surfshark.deals/bigthing, get yourself 3 extra months for free. I mean, that's enough right there. So go and check it out. Stay safe. Do what you got to do. It's Surfshark. And I just pointed at you again. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you're having a great what? Hope you had a great weekend. See, I caught myself. The reason why, who's not excited? Everybody's excited. The writers have finally had a deal that they struck with the AMPTP and WGA. Stupidest long title. I hate it. But nonetheless, they came to an agreement. It's happening. And then is SAG next? We're going to talk about that for sure. We've got some other things going on in the news as far as, I guess, it kind of all related. The talk shows are coming back. So we'll talk about that. But I'm excited too because I got a good friend of mine here. Jonny Loquasto. He's got a brand new special coming out. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about things inside of the special. We're going to talk about his time at the WWE. We're going to talk about how he kind of geeked out when I told him we were doing a UFO show here. We'll talk about all that and more in just a little bit. So what we want you guys to do, show a little class, will you? Hit that button. 100,000. We're almost there. But we need you guys to do it. We've been approaching it. I think we'll do it by October. But we need you guys to hit that button. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. All right, man. It's a big thing. It's me. It's Jonny Loquasto. Let's do it. What up, everybody? Welcome back. How you doing? Good to see you. Happy to be with you. All right. I got a text last week from my pal Jonny, and we hadn't talked a little bit. And I said, well, hey, man, let's get you in here. Let's do a little catching up. But then, what a great time to do it. My man's got a special out. There he is, Jonny Loquasto. What up, Johnny? How you doing?
What a great morning to be here. Yeah, we have the special coming out, but the writers have defeated the AMPTP where you can now get big gulps on sale. I don't know what it is either. Like every time I see that, I'm like, I have to like copy paste if I want to say something about those idiots.
It's too much. It's too much.
Isn't it like that whole group is just 3 old rich white dudes? Is
Just
it
call
not?
it us. Just say it's us. So we're gonna be negotiating with us. Okay, great. It's like we get it. There's so many different. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it. Hold on. Magic. Watch this. Oh man, just like that, I fixed a shot, Johnny. How about
We're
that?
live. We're live, everybody.
We're live. That's a live link, and here we are. But you know what's funny about the writer's strike? What happened was, the second it went down, you're like, well, make no mistake about it. The studios were like, yes, they were so excited about it at first because they cut so much money, so much money through
Canceling shows.
Right.
Yeah.
Canceling
all the superheroes. Bye.
But everything, though, canceling shows, deals that they had to do that they didn't have to do anymore, and the money started going back to them. They're like, great. But what they did that was very dumb was they let it keep going on and on and on because they thought they were going to bleed people out. Writers like, no, we can stand through this. And had they, I always forget, I always mess this up when I say this, but it's something along the lines of, I think the entire deal would have cost them like $65 million, right? The studios, but they've lost close to like $600 million by bleeding it out for as long as it is. So it was a very stupid move. So finally, Zaslav, I'm convinced at Warner Brothers was like,
which is such a villain name to begin with.
Zaslav. It is, who shall we send to get the children? You send Zaslav.
Lock them in the chains. Zaslav say.
I call him Zoloft. Because it just puts me. It's just.
I'm sure his personality is very similar to taking a couple of those.
That's what I. It's just like when you hear him speak, you're just like, so but Warner Brothers had like Wonka and Aquaman, and they've been losing money hand over fist with the DC movies, you know. So like
Flash struggled.
Flash bombed. Dude,
yeah, I loved it though.
I liked it a lot, but it bombed, and it did really, really bad. Blue Beetle barely broke even, if anything. You know, Black Adam cost them so much money and barely broke even, or whatever it was, lost money. And then there was I think there was one more. Oh, Shazam 2 ate a pile of garbage. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, it ate it bad. So like, but they need it, and then they had to push Dune. So Zaslav is probably like, guys, can we please get to the table and let's just figure it out? And finally, because I'm going to read kind of what the deal is, the proposed deal or whatever. I don't think the full details are out yet, but they got to a place. The writers won. You knew that they did, because they were gonna. They said they're not gonna stop. It was like Braveheart, man. It's like the Scots.
Well, also, it's like, to me, the most insulting pitch that I guess the old evil men gave to the writers, maybe it was to SAG as well, is the whole thing about for people as an extra. We take your entire likeness. We hire you for one day, and then we could use your likeness as an extra. That, to me, that's some evil Tron shit. Yeah. That they're actually they're really pitching that as a real idea. And then for me, in voiceovers, I'm terrified. I will punch a robot in its throat. I will not allow AI to come in and creep into voiceover, because this is how we make a living. And these idiots want to use, like, I still freelance. I see AI projects coming across. I just delete right away. I'm like, no, I'm not auditioning for your stupid AI bullshit.
I hate to tell you though, that is, I don't think what is going to happen is there's going to be ways around, like, you'll be able to make more money off of it, and there'll be ways to try to protect you more. So it's what they're fighting for. But going away, it ain't going away. Yeah. And it's like, even watching some of the stuff that they're doing now, it's like, it's just one of these things I talked about, and some people understand, some people don't like when I say this, but I think that the thing is that, you know, when we were younger, certain things, that technology that was coming up, that our parents and other people are like, what the hell is that? And like, we just are used to it. It's the kind of, and my dad still doesn't really know how to work a computer really well. It still has a problem working with the DVR.
I struggle with an iPad. I get it.
Right. So, but yet a 6-year-old could probably do laps on the iPad and those things too. A 6 or 7-year-old with AI, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying more so wrong, because I think it's wrong more so than anything else. However, it doesn't change the fact that the 6-year-old in 10, 15 years, AI is just going to be part of their life. It's just going to be one of those things to where, rightfully so, we're probably like, no, hold back on that, because I think it's scary as shit. Yeah, I think it's scary. It's the fact that you can just put like hey, write me an article about this, and this, and it comes out. And how do teachers do that in school? If you have an AI program, like, hey, I need a history, how can they tell? It's one thing with pictures. Pictures you can tell because they all have like AI art now, and it looks like AI art. But man, like articles and shit, it's pretty crazy.
It's creeping into so many things, and you see you can write, like, AI can write full scripts.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh great, this is better than what I can do. I don't want.
I know. Well, that's
talk about insecurity.
Yes, and that's what the main thing is with what they kind of fought for, is the fact that was what was holding them up. And let me read a little bit of this article here about what they said. This is from Dark Horizons.
I mean, all the writers seem very, very happy, even though they don't. Because I guess maybe the deal was like, look, whatever deal we strike, you're going to be happy with it. So I think all the writers have been posting they're stoked, and we'll 100%. See what happens. Yeah.
All right, here's the actual article from Dark Horizons. It appears that the writer's strike is coming to an end. The Writers Guild of America has confirmed they have reached a tentative agreement with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. According to Deadline, both parties reportedly finalized the deal framework on Sunday, breaking the stalemate over issues like AI and writing room staffing levels. In a letter to its member, the Guild said, "We have reached a tentative agreement on a new 2023 MBA, which is to say an agreement in principle on all deal points subject to drafting final contract language." According to Hollywood Reporter, a message to membership also stated, "We can say with great pride that this deal is exceptional,
Okay.
with meaningful gains and protections for writers in every sector of the membership. The tentative deal signs the coming end of a 5-month standoff and follows in the wake of 5 days of long negotiations. It will still be a few days before the strike is officially over as the WGA proceeds with their ratification process. The last major strike back in 2007, 2008 saw the official ratification and an end of the strike coming 4 days after a tentative agreement was reached." The late-night comedy shows and daytime talk shows are expected to be able to return to air almost immediately once the ratification process is complete and the union gives the go-ahead to return to work. But the films and scripted TV shows that didn't sign interim agreements with the actors SAG-AFTRA are expected to remain dark until that strike is settled. Details of the agreement haven't been released yet, but are expected to be announced shortly ahead of the membership ratification vote. So yeah, we're not going to probably get, what the full details were just yet because the ratification process, but I mean, it seems like everybody's happy, and it also seems like this just shows the corporate greed, the stubbornness, the narcissism that comes with the studio where they could have done this. This could have happened 2 months ago.
Drop in the bucket.
Yeah. 2 months ago, this could have happened.
And Bill Maher has to be thinking, God damn, I probably should have waited a few more weeks because he's looking like such a villain right now.
Yeah, because, and Drew Barrymore, who I think, and I did a whole show on this last week, I think she was wrong for jumping the gun up top, but I think that we always ask people to listen and, hey, you've upset people, can you listen? And she listened.
Yeah.
And she went out there and she apologized, and people are still giving her crap. Only reason she did is because there was a backlash. But she listened. There's a backlash against Bill Maher. He didn't do anything.
No.
And he wasn't because he's stubborn. And so I think, though, if I'm Drew Barrymore, I'm going, oh, man, I could have avoided that. Unless this kind of spearheaded some of this stuff too, which maybe getting people to the table. But I also think it's because of the Jewish holidays, obviously today as well too. I think they wanted to make sure that it's a nice gift for the fact that
it's a mitzvah.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah, and then the writers were just like, hell yeah, we can get this done. And they fought, and this goes to show you though, when people are like, well, why do people strike? Why do they do that? This is the reason why people strike. There is no definition of, this solidarity is, this should be like a full-on when you look into the dictionary, look at that, look at what that is. This was solidarity to the max.
And that's the way it is with SAG too.
Yeah.
When Fran Drescher first gave her speech, you would have thought she was Braveheart. It was very impressive, and everything she said was true. She said, shit can really hit the fan if we don't do something about this.
Yeah.
And for anyone watching who doesn't work in entertainment, it is hard chasing your dream. And if things are not set up to be beneficial for all your hard work to pay off, you can be in some serious trouble down the road.
Sure.
And I think the SGA and I think SAG got to that point. I had no idea. So I'm not in the SGA. I had no idea. I assumed all writers on shows
WGA, you mean?
I'm sorry, WGA,
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah.
SGA sounds like a golf
I was
organization.
which union was I missing?
It's a student golf organization.
Yeah.
It's something else. No, WGA. So I assumed every writer was making a solid living regardless of what show they're on. And then I was hearing some of the stuff when it came to the streaming sites. Writing on a Netflix show, you were not even making enough to pay rent. Even being a guest star on a Netflix show, you were making $300-400. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me with this. Because I'm so far into the freelance life now that I'm just tunnel vision with everything I'm doing. And if I get a SAG job, hey, way to go. Still not getting insurance. But it's just, I think SAG needs to follow up, and hopefully everyone gets the deal that everyone deserves.
Yeah, and it seems like that's ultimately what they are going for, and it looked like the residuals is, I guess, the same for writers and actors too. But how that's going to play out, the streaming are finally
Got to be residuals.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the major things that they settled on, because look, what people don't realize also is that this streaming stuff, it's very young. It's very young. We're looking at, I mean, the streaming. I remember being on Collider in like 2018, 2019, saying the streaming wars had begun, and everybody was. Netflix was the first one with House of Cards and all that stuff that they were doing. They were the only really game in town, and then everybody else was like, "Oh, we're getting in on this," and then it became a monopoly. It became this.
Became a paywall jungle.
Yeah, it became this thing. Well, yeah, everybody was doing. Everybody had a streaming service. Everybody had this. Everybody had that. But it's like, yeah, but how are you paying people? And it was the reason why Netflix is able to make all this money and do this stuff because they weren't playing residuals. They weren't doing all these things. They were able to spend like lunatics. And of course they were like, well, we're not releasing our numbers. We're not doing. Of course.
And they could play it off as, well, it's just digital.
Right.
It's not television. Bullshit. It's real television. It's real movies.
And they've changed and they've changed television because the quality. I was just watching clips with my wife yesterday of Three's Company. Fantastic show.
Sure was.
It really, I mean, and by the way, for people who don't talk about John Ritter enough, I mean, you and I will always say this. We'll know this because it was our field. Comedic genius.
Yeah.
Comedic genius. He's not, and I even said as we were watching this clip, my wife and I were talking. It was like, I don't know if you remember how well you remember the show, but there was one he was pretending he was a priest at this party, and a guy comes up to him and gives him a drink, and he goes, "Take this drink." He's like, "I shouldn't." He's like, "Take it. It'll wake you up a little bit. You look tired." So he takes this shot, and he goes, "It did nothing to me." And then in classic John Ritter form, he goes like this, and he just starts dancing and go. I mean, it goes on, Johnny, for like 5 or 6 minutes, and it's just brilliant. And I said to my wife, I go, if this happens in the 2000s, like if he's that young and happens, this guy's doing movies, he's doing everything too, but the quality of it, it looked like a sitcom, and you could tell there was an audience, and it was very different quality from like today stuff on Netflix and Amazon. What's the difference between movies?
And that's the thing too, and plus you put Ritter alongside Don Knotts. I mean, another comedic genius.
Of course.
But that's another thing with technology today and the way stuff is shot. You don't have to be the greatest actor to become a star. Let's just be honest about it. How many people have we seen, whether it's based off of like, oh, this guy looks like a Greek god, we're going to make him a great actor, or she's a supermodel, we're going to make her. They're not necessarily great actors, but you can make someone serviceable depending on the way you film things.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, and especially with social media and the way people are turned into stars now. Now there's endurance. Talent helps endurance more. You know, like you get people who can really like. Look, I was watching. Like Margot Robbie, by the way, is an example.
Whew, amazing
actress. Now she is gorgeous. I mean, it's one of the funniest lines in the Barbie movie is when I think it's Judi Dench who's doing it's Helen Mirren doing the narrating, and she's just like, this is not if you wanted to try to sell this portion of the beaten down Barbie or the not attractive Barbie or whatever it was. Margot Robbie is not the great casting choice. She says that inside of the narration itself, but like. She's someone who's an example of she's going to have endurance throughout this business because
without question,
it doesn't because she's so. I'm watching Babylon right now. It's like a 3.5 hour movie, so it's going to take me like it feels like a show, but
kind of like the what's the movie with De Niro? Irishman. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. She's but she's so good in it. She's so good in it. The movie's crazy. It's not for everybody, but she is so. I mean, she is insane. Good in this movie, and like she's got such range, but she's an example of like you could like misjudge and go, oh well, here's this just gorgeous woman.
True.
And it's like, all right, well they're shooting her to be the next hot thing, and that happens all the time. But but it's endurance, it's through talent. You know
but you look at the performance. What was she? 21 when she shot Wolf of Wall Street, and
was she that young?
She's early 20s.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, there are some people that defy all that stuff, and she's clearly one of them.
She's one of them. So speaking of which, man, we got the SAG strike right around the corner.
Oof.
And,
yeah.
I mean the end of it hopefully right around the corner. And this again would make sense into the way that things are going. You've got the writers. You knew they were going to deal with the writers first. Get that done. They've been out there for 5 months. Deal is done, and now they're like, because to me, it seems like the way that the studio has been looking at it, wrongfully, but the way that they've been looking at it is. Yeah, the writers, we can replace them down the line. We got the AI thing. It's like, whatever, let them. There's those,
you can't.
Right, there's those comments, how they're going to bleed them out and all that. The way that they were looking at them, but they are always kind of crapping in their pants with the actors because they need the actors to promote. They need the actors to do all this stuff. To them, they have to get the SAG thing done. Like, and now that they have now caved to the writers as they should have, now it's like the SAG's going to get what they this one's
They
gonna
have
wrap up.
to.
Yeah, the one's going to wrap up.
And also, it was so ignorant for the studios to think like, oh, we could replace writers. Well, when you look at the most popular shows on television, almost all of them, it's yes, the actors are great, but it's because of the writing.
Of course.
If you have garbage
Great,
writing,
of
it doesn't
course.
matter how good of an actor you are.
100%.
And whether it's a comedy, whether it's a drama, procedural, whatever, if you look at some of the best shows on television, the writing is unreal. And that's why they needed the WGA to come to terms. And now, of course, SAG is probably, in a way, they kind of have the studios by the balls.
They 100%, and I think that the way that they probably looked at it, the studios, is all right. Well, we got this program now in AI. Instead of having, all right, I'm not going to pay Jonny Loquasto to come in and write this 120. I'm not going to pay him his rate to do a 120-page script that he's got to do 4 different revisions on. I'm going to tell the program that I want a movie about this, 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 and this, and I'm going to get it to where it's a tight 120 pages. And then what I'll do is maybe I'll pay Jonny to come in and do a rewrite of it.
Punch it up.
It up. I'll pay him to do that. That way, now I've cut my cost by this, and I can see the business kind of fat cat mentality behind it. But the problem is that it's not just an idea you came up with yesterday and how the system works. The system's been in place for a bit, and these are people's jobs. There's the livelihoods. There's the things, and there's the human emotion behind it too. So it's a major victory for goodness.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked. I didn't know when this was going to end, because when you have greedy rich people that are fighting, I mean, these people can fight as long as they want. But luckily, I can't wait to hear the terms. But
yeah, well, they were bleeding too much money at this point. There was just too much money being lost.
Yeah.
That they couldn't do it anymore.
I'm interested in when SAG comes to terms. You know, what are the studios going to do? Because right now they've just been picking up random stuff. They're playing reruns. Is there going to be a massive bring back to shows that were canceled, I wonder, or just, you know?
I not so much canceled as I think there'll be the talks as far as more so things that were right on the cusp of being put out.
Pick them up, yeah.
Pick them up. There'll be the certain shows that they kind of push back. Look at something like Star Wars. There's a show, Skeleton Crew, that Jude Law is in, right? Like that was supposed to come out at the end of this year. That will, like, they're gonna have. It's gonna be a little similar to the pandemic, right? Where remember, like once, and this didn't necessarily help. But the pandemic, there was so much stuff that was pushed into 2023. There's going to be a lot that's pushed into 2024. Some will hit, some won't. Other things that were supposed to come out, and like look at Deadpool. Deadpool was supposed to come out, I think, in May. That'll probably get pushed to like July now.
Sure.
If they knock this thing out, I think by mid-October, both strikes will be. Well, we already have one that's almost over, but both will be over. And people will be getting back to work, but they even said like the talk shows are coming back probably within the next week or so.
Yeah.
So which is nuts, but
And that's another funny thing is the studios thought they could bleed out the writers.
yeah,
Did they not realize that we all fought through a pandemic that lasted a lot longer than a strike? I mean, people in entertainment, shit, I lost my job. I lost everything I had at that point.
Yeah.
My job was gone. I couldn't do stand-up. There was literally nothing for me to do. And a lot of people in entertainment, when the pandemic hit, we were not essential. So we were just kind of stuck, and yet we found a way to persevere. So I think they forgot about that.
They absolutely forgot about that for sure. And even the comments that were made up top. But nonetheless, they finally figured it out. The money was getting too much of a loss even for them, that they sat down, they figured it out, and it looks like WGA definitely won that battle, and SAG's about to win their battle. It's coming up soon. But I ask you guys, what do you think about the fact that this ended? Did you think it was going to end in October? Did you think that it was going to push into January? A lot of people were predicting January. What did you think overall? Or do you need to know more to see what kind of deal it was? But the WGA seems to say it was a spectacular deal. Now, I want to talk some stand-up in a second to Jonny, because that's where we met, by the way. I don't know if people realize that, but we're going to talk about that in a second. But before I do, I want to tell you guys both about Rocket Money and Athletic Greens AG1. Here we go. Come on, man. Rocket Money. Rocket Money. So many different times you sign up for these apps, and you go, oh, that's a cool app. I'm going to do that for like 3 weeks, and then I'll remember to change it, and then I won't get charged, and then you do. And you get charged like $9.99 a month, $12 a month. And you're like, how the hell did I spend so much money on something I never use? Well, that's what Rocket Money is able to do. Rocket Money is a personal finance app, and it finds and it cancels your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending, and it helps you lower your bills all in one place. It is crazy for me that more people don't A, know about it, and B, aren't using it. I mean, everybody should be using this. I've been using them for so long, even before they were even called Rocket Money. But now they're called Rocket Money, and they are fantastic. They monitor all your expenses in one place. They recommend custom budgets based on your past spending, and they'll send you notifications when you reached your spending limits. I get it all the time. I get updated. Hey, your credit's better. You have this, you have that. You spent this much. Stop spending on this. Look at this. Look, you have the subscription. You never use this. Do that. It's helped so much. I can't even tell you. I am not great at organizing, and it helps me organize all of my finances. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and manage your money the easy way. Go to rocketmoney.com/thing. 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 This is one you will absolutely thank me for. Thank me for. And you should. I thank myself for using it. I love Rocket Money. I love talking about AG1. It's the daily foundational nutrition supplement that supports whole body health. I drink it every day. Set it up. I put it in this cup. I've told you about this zoo cup that I have. I love this stupid zoo cup, but I love AG1 because I put it in the cup, just mix it around, and that's it. I get better gut health. I have a boost of energy. I have my immune system support. It's helping my sleep quality. That's what's really great about it. It helps my sleep quality. I'm just never been a person that can keep up with that supplement routine. And here's 3,000 different vitamins. Take this point, take this, then screw that. I take it once, put it in that cup, shake it around, and that's it. And I felt so much better. I have a extra pep in my step because of it. And I don't understand why people want to take a whole bunch of different things. You can just do it all. One scoop of powder, put it in water once a day. That's it. Because it was designed with ease in mind. You can live your life healthier and better, and you don't have to complicate your routine. I love getting the single serving, the AG1 travel packs for me because they're just simple. If I have my, even when I go to a screening, sometimes if I forget to take it, I'm like, oh, I got my travel pack. I'll take it now, and I never miss a day. If you want to take ownership of your health, you try AG1. You get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/bigthing. drinkag1.com/bigthing. Check it out. It's every single week I get somebody saying, hey, I tried it. I signed up because of you. You've been telling me about it, and I love it. Be one of those people. Tell me about it. Get control of your energy. Get control of good sleep quality. Drink AG1. All right, thank you to our friends over at Rocket Money and Athletic Greens. I'm telling you, man, I used Rocket Money just the other day. I use it all the time, but I use it. My wife and I were going over kind of the finances stuff, and she's like, no, we did this, we did that. I go, no, I'm telling you, we actually had this amount of money that we spent. She's like, I don't know. And then I got a notification from Rocket Money confirming it, and I sent the screenshot to my wife, and I said, look, there you go. See? And she's like, all right, you're right. And Rocket Money, I can never get my wife to say you're right, but Rocket Money did it. Rocket Money did it. So thank you, Rocket Money. Make sure you sign up to Rocket Money. You guys know how much I love AG1. I take it every day, and I love it. It's the best. All right. So Jonny and I, we met, I think it was like room 5, man.
Sure was.
Yeah, it was room 5.
I want to say ballpark 2006 or 7.
Yeah, that was about the time that I was there all the time. That was the Comedy Store and room 5 are like my home bases.
You and Knapsack,
yeah.
Ellis. I remember at one point, I don't know if it was Mark Fernandez used to run the show?
No, Franco. Fernandez wrote Collider.
Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, Franco.
Okay, my bad. Mark Franco.
Yeah.
He I don't know, someone put out like a video promo of like, the weekly Sunday night show and stuff. Yeah. And I remember there was some bit that you did where you were like doing an Al Pacino impression.
Oh yeah, the Taco Bell.
As soon as I was out of my relationship, I fucking sprinted to Taco Bell. I busted in there like fucking Al Pacino and he, boom, give me what I got!
Give me what you got! It was just like, you were like super high energy. I remember you used to have a bit about like if you had ninja protection services at home.
Yes, the samurai sword.
I bought a samurai sword when I was there. You know why? Because I could. Well, Kristian, that doesn't make much sense. Why would you buy a samurai sword? Makes all the sense in the world, Jack. I'll tell you why. You're a robber, right? You go, I'm taking this, I'm taking that, I'm taking this, I'm ready for everything. Really? Ready for me? My hair all fucked up? Star Wars boxer shorts? Gotta throw a little English in just to throw them off. I'm gonna cut off your face!
That's what it was.
But yeah, and then I don't even know, how did you get a hold of the because you to this day I did a short with my buddy Michael Taylor when I first moved here in like 2000, and it was called A Champion's Heart, and it was about this maniac dude who was a wrestling fan that lived life in his wrestling persona, and he called himself the Bastard.
Yeah.
How did you get a hold of that?
Because you guys posted it.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, no, it was just you posted it online, and it was just to me as a wrestling fan, I love like close parody to you know, and the way that character was, and the fact that like the catchphrase was not a good catchphrase, but it was almost a good catchphrase.
Right.
And so the catchphrase was, "You just got cold cocked and knocked out by the bastard."
Cold cock and dropped.
sorry. And so, like, I loved it, and it's for some reason that stuck in my head. There's some things that never leave your brain, and for some reason, that's one of them. And so, like, it's something that I always have to say to you because it was great.
It was hilarious. He did a really great job with that. But like we actually Duncan Trussell at Luna Park was his place, and we did things very similar to like what they would do, like Borat stuff, right?
Yeah.
Way before. And what we would do is Michael Taylor, who was the director. We did this a few times. We did it at at this place called what was it called? The Martini Lounge. It was on Melrose. It was near Paramount. No longer there. But this place at Luna Park, Duncan Trussell's up, and Duncan was introducing the Bastard. Oh
my God.
And he goes, yeah, and the crowd did not know it was coming. So he introduced me, and he introduced me wrong. And Duncan knew it was coming, obviously. So I pick him up and I rack him.
Oh, wow.
On stage in
Okay.
front of the entire audience and dump him off the stage. And Duncan's so
He
fantastic.
took the bump off the stage?
Duncan took a bump off the stage, but I didn't hurt him. I threw him off to the side, and he was like, oh, you know, cartoonish Duncan.
Give him the attitude adjustment?
Yeah, and Duncan was like going like this, and Duncan sold it so well.
Yeah.
And I did it. I did the same thing to Michael Taylor on stage, but then Jordy. You remember Jordy Fox?
Yes.
So Jordy played my brother in the in it, and I grabbed him by, he goes, dude, take me by the head and throw me off the side, and I just toss him off the side. But anyway, but that's how we have our kind of wrestling connection too. But we had our
We're a couple of grads.
It is. It's
WWE
true.
grads, I guess.
True. But the stand up side of it, yeah, we knew each other through then, and then just kind of randomly found ourselves back in the same circle here.
Sure.
But you've been going at it, man. Still, you got a new special, and it's coming out tomorrow.
Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.
Tell me all about it.
I mean, it's one of those things where my first special I shot in late 2018 and total DIY. It's called Physical Therapy. Really proud of it. But we're in the middle of the editing process, and it was really close to being done, and then I get hired by WWE.
Yeah.
Dream job. Never thought it would happen. I'd been working in wrestling for 9 years. You know what that's like.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, you were backstage with The Rock, and
Yeah.
you were there for the heyday, as many people like to say it. So I get hired, and they're like, we need you across the country in Orlando. I was like, cool, how soon? We set a date, and I went, and I basically shelved the special because I knew how that company worked. And, they're not keen on side projects.
No, they are not.
And me coming in as a play-by-play broadcaster, ring announcer, anything with a mic, that's a job I have to take seriously. I always kept comedy and wrestling separate, and I still kind of do to this day because I don't want anyone who's going to hire me as a play-by-play guy to think, oh, is he just going to joke off, and no, that's not me. Like, I hate when commentators try to be funny, especially the play-by-play guy. It's not your job. When I see a play-by-play dude with like a flashy jacket with a self-given nickname, I'm like, I hate you. Like, I'm such a traditionalist. So I always kept my comedy and my wrestling separate. So I shelved the special because I remember like a couple weeks into my job, I was talking to someone with the company who's also on-air talent. And this person said, I was actually offered a movie gig in the new Bill and Ted, and I turned it down because I didn't want to cause any distraction. And I was like, whoa, if this person is turning that down, then I'm definitely not putting my special out.
Right.
So I just shelved it. And then everything was going great. I was there for about a year. Pandemic hit. The company kept rolling.
Yeah.
I'm doing TV every week, all this stuff. And then one day they dropped the hammer on half the company.
They just did that. They did it like 2 days ago too.
They did a lot of releases.
Yeah.
But this day was April 15th, 2020.
Okay.
I mean, massive amounts of releases, backstage talent. It was probably.
Did you know it was coming kind of because of the pandemic? No.
Dude.
Yeah.
It's funny because I've still never posted publicly about it. Like, everyone does their, hey, I'm no longer with so-and-so. Here's my bookings. I didn't do that because, number one, so many people lost their jobs that day. I feel like that was a day for the in-ring talent to get their info out. For me as a broadcaster, I'm like, number one, it's the middle of the pandemic. What am I going to do? There's no wrestling.
Right.
So I just kept really quiet about it because I was told I was coming back and all this stuff. But I remember I just got done filming on-camera introductions for a show called 205 Live that no longer exists.
Yeah.
And we got done filming, me and a good friend of this day who shot it with me, and we got a notice on our work phone saying, company-wide conference, noon, tune in. So I go home, and it's like a 2-minute thing. Kind of went over my head. I'm thinking nothing of it.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I'm sending an email to connect my buddy to send footage up to Connecticut for, and the email doesn't work. I'm like, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I log out of my email. I try to log back in. I can't log back in. I'm like,
So you didn't have anybody officially tell you?
5 minutes later,
Okay.
I get a phone call.
Okay. Who calls
And
you at that point?
I can't say who, but he
Okay,
was my,
okay,
I mean,
okay.
I probably can because he's no longer with the company, but he was my, I kind of had two bosses
Yeah.
in the broadcasting side, but he was my manager, if you
Okay,
will.
okay.
And incredibly talented
Yeah,
guy. And I see him on my phone, and that's when it hit me. I go, oh no. And I answer the phone, and his voice is shaky.
Yeah.
Like, you could tell, like, he hated having to do
Of course, it
this.
sucks.
And I don't remember word for word what it was, but it was kind of like, I just remember him saying, he said, we hired you with high expectations and you exceeded all of them. Because I got hired without an audition,
Yeah, that's
which they don't really do.
Yeah. No.
And he just said, I don't know what the future holds, but I'm sorry. And so I remember just sitting on the couch that day for like hours.
Yeah.
Because this is April 2020. No one's doing anything. And I'm like, I'm across the country. I don't have any friends here. All my friends are at work. I'm not going to see them anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have any
Were
family.
You were in Connecticut when this
No,
happened?
I was in Florida,
You were
Orlando.
in Florida. Okay.
Yeah, because I was
Okay.
based out of the
You were
performance.
sending something to Connecticut. Copy. Got it.
And so it was such a weird, and like everyone thought like, the pandemic's it's gonna be over quick, and it wasn't. And so it was just it was a crazy thing. And then so you, as a lot of us did, you slowly start to pick up the pieces. And then I finally put out my special in middle of 2021.
Right.
But a couple of months after I lose my job,
How long were you there for?
I was there for just about a full calendar year.
Okay.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Grateful for every moment.
Oh,
Don't regret anything.
You beat my time. I was
How-
there for a month and a half, 2
Really?
months. Yeah. Because for the writers, it was different. And I'll go back to
High turnover.
As you know, high turnover, and this was 2001 when they just started doing writers. So what they did back then, and I don't know if you can tell me, maybe you know, maybe you don't. What they did back then was they basically brought you in and they paid you by the day, right? A nice pay by the day, and I was there every day. But once you got to a certain point, they had to bring you on staff.
Right.
And what they would do is they would bring in the freelance for a little bit and say, once you got to that point, you want to stick with them or just bring in another freelance. And that was it. Stephanie canned me. So,
Interesting.
But, all right, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't get a phone call from the
Yeah.
big guy. I made eye contact with him once and said hi. That was because people asked, "Did you ever meet him?" Not exactly.
Such a crazy different time.
Yeah. And so, but a couple of months into the pandemic, I ended up meeting a woman, and we ended up meeting at a coffee shop,
yeah.
and she became my wife. And as things start to pick up a little bit, I'm like, okay, you have to put certain things in the rearview mirror. It's like,
Sure.
would I ever go back there? Absolutely, but it's got to be the right situation.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, let's figure out the freelance voiceover world, because I didn't want to rely on agencies anymore.
Right.
Let's figure out stand up. Let's still do play by play. I started reaching out to MMA and boxing promotions. That started working out, because it's like if I did WWE, you can't juggle 5 things at once.
Right.
It's not that difficult to do combat sports when you don't have to be an actor.
It's true, but isn't it funny though, Johnny, when you say that stuff too? Like, because I'm sure, because even the short time I was there, I was devastated when I lost it, because
It was horrible. Yeah.
right, and you're in that position at the time. But to be honest, that's the time that I needed to spend there, because for me down the line, I learned a lot about it in general. That was just because, for a lot of different reasons, it wasn't the career that I was supposed to have, and it led me to certain things. And like, let's say that you wind up there for like another year, right? Maybe you don't meet your wife.
No, that definitely
Right?
wouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
If the
so it's
pandemic
like-
didn't happen, we wouldn't have met. There's no way.
But that's what I'm saying.
Possible.
It's like, so isn't it at the time when you think that the worst thing in the world is happening to you, it could that could have been one of the best things that happened to you.
It took me a while to realize that,
Yeah.
because honestly, I worked so hard to get to that point. Never
Yeah.
thought I'd be hired by them. And there are so few broadcasting positions with that company.
Yeah.
And not only was I there, I was thriving. Like, I'm so proud of all my work that I did there. But like you said, you learned so much there. I got 80% better in that 1 year.
Sure.
To where now it's like, I honestly feel like there's no combat sports broadcaster with my skill set. Because on top of everything I've done, I have a master's in physical therapy. Nobody knows the body better than me.
Right.
So I just feel more confident now than I've ever been, but it took so long to get there because you're sitting there like, oh my God, this was the dream, and it just got swept from under me when I didn't do anything wrong. It's just the world is being attacked by this virus.
100%. Yes. But so you then you get to this place where you meet how long before you start dating your wife to when you get married?
We keep that stuff quiet, but
Okay.
we've been married for a little while now.
Okay.
But yeah, so she was the one that motivated me. She's like, you should shoot another special. I'm like, I need to start performing.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things, but I've been writing down ideas the whole time because we are from different parts of the world. We were literally completely different lives. I mean, my wife's from Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
Now her 3 kids, my 3 kids now are from Saudi Arabia. And you talk about like polar opposites.
Yeah.
I was living the adult child career only
That's what I'm
life.
saying. That's a jump, man. That's
Dude,
a jump.
the craziest jump. Whereas she came to the U.S. 9 years ago as a student.
Yeah.
And so I marvel at the mother that she is because the kids are amazing.
You talking about how old they are?
Yeah, they're one's almost 19, one is 16, one is 12.
Okay.
So I went from having no responsibility to having people.
Yeah, man. For sure.
And so and I have no idea what I'm
And
doing.
getting people at that, and depending on what age they were, in the range of what you're talking about, like to where.
I met them all 3 years ago.
Okay, so you get to a place that they're going, who the fuck is this guy, right?
Yeah.
And you've got to now, because it's different if 2 years old, 3 years old, they're just going to know you. Yes, you got to get in there and you got to say, okay. It's a very different dynamic. So it's crazy, yeah.
Especially depending on how you're raised. I was raised in a household like my parents are awesome, but we were just not like an openly emotional. In hindsight, we were not an openly emotional household. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so like for me to be a dad all of a sudden, I'm blown away at the mother she was because the kids are all phenomenal. Meanwhile, she did this while fighting her way through school to get her college degree, while finding a way to make a living. I mean, at one point she was making food, traditional food from where she's from and selling it and stuff like that. And then she ended up developing a really large following on social media.
And how does she do this through?
Basically just being herself.
Oh,
She's
okay.
got such a unique personality and, she's got a really big following in the Middle East. And, she's motivational. She's hilarious. She's a really funny character. She does I'm the comedian in the family. She is so much funnier than I am. It's embarrassing at how much funnier she is compared to me when I'm the guy who gets paid to tell jokes.
Well, you said inside your special too, there's a particular, I don't want to give away the joke, but there's a joke that you say that's like, it's the fact that she essentially wrote that joke and it was the funniest joke in your set.
Dude, so much of, that's why I call it Saudi Stepdad because it's really about how life has done a 180. And my thought process is, life changed for all of us.
Yeah.
You and I were just talking about, I know how your life changed. I mean, the Schmodown could have been on national television.
Right.
And then, because it was amazing. Yeah. And unfortunately, it wasn't in the cards because of what happened in the world.
Right.
And so I thought with this special, not only will people enjoy it, hopefully it'll make them laugh a lot. They'll be able to see hey, 2 very different people can come together and love trumps everything. And all the negativity that her and I get online sometimes just for being together with who we are. Yeah. You just got to say, hey, guess what? We're happy. So if you're saying negative things, you're miserable. We wish you luck. So I hope if people watch the special, they can take a little bit of motivation from it because, I thought everything got taken away from me.
Right.
And then in hindsight, so much was given to me. It just took me a while to get it.
I'm telling you, there's a quote that Steve Simone, was very good.
Just talked to him yesterday.
Is one of my
one
really
of the
good,
greatest human beings
ever. And so he was one of my, when at the Comedy Store, I had my crew that I hung out with. It was Rick Ingram.
Oh, I love him.
Steve Simone, Rena Zisi, Ari Shafir, Ellis, obviously. Those are my guys.
All the best dudes.
Yeah, those were my guys. And Simone was, we share our love for wrestling and pizza. And he was the reason, I remember when I was co-hosting when Steve would go out of town, I would co-host the Rod Pod with Roddy.
Yes.
And that was because of Steve. And Steve brought him to the Room 5 show, and Steve brought the two. But But yeah, where's it going with that? Was some of
Just being
Steve?
grateful for
Yeah, and
gifts
something-
that you
thank
don't know you
And
have.
what I said to Steve years ago, he's like, "I love that quote," and I said, you cannot judge the past if you don't know what the future is."
Yeah.
Because the worst experience in your life, and I'm talking about the worst. I'm talking about like a death. I'm talking about like the worst thing in the world that you think is that you had to in your life go through that in order to get to the place that you're in now and other good moments. I always tell people this, like you're like, I remember a friend of mine who was going through some shit, like really bad stuff, and he was, in tears and everything too. And I said, I promise you that it's just miserable. There's not. I go, I promise you that whether it's a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, you're going to look back at this and you're going to go, wow, if I didn't go through this, I wouldn't get to the place I'm now. The guy now is thriving. And when I say thriving, and it's just a matter of perseverance. It's a matter of believing in yourself. It's a matter of looking around at what's there, and it's harder to say stay positive. It really is.
It's a simple phrase that we've all heard that really works though, is this too shall pass. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I told myself that so many times because I went back to the front line as a physical therapist at the peak of the pandemic. So there was a moment where I was literally driving 70 miles each way to a hospital in Florida in the summer of 2020, spring of 2021, the two biggest waves of COVID. And I remember there were multiple days where like I'm gowning up like I'm an ET, like I'm putting all the PPE on and I'm about to walk into like my 5th COVID room of the day. And I remember having those thoughts. I'm like, just over 6 months ago, I was in front of 13,000 people at Staples Center.
Right.
And now I can't even breathe under this mask. Like, what the hell happened?
I know. And but look now you got a special out, and now you're doing it, and it pushed you towards a special. You got 3 great step kids.
Got a family.
You got a family, which is your family man, John.
Man.
Your family man. And yeah, so like, where did you shoot the special, by the way?
Huntington Beach, a place called the Rec Room.
Okay.
It's an awesome place to shoot a special. I had an amazing team. They're called Change for Balance. You can find them on social media. They work with 501c3s. They're incredible.
Yeah.
And Rec Room's great because 125 people packs the joint.
Okay.
And the sound is incredible, and I really love the visuals of it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted this special to be like kind of like a living room environment, like just because for me it's like all the stuff I talk about is so personal, and I don't know, it just felt great.
It's a really good vibe. You accomplished exactly what you just described. Make sure you guys check it out. It is Saudi Stepdad, and that is on. You can find it on YouTube. Where
it's simple DIY. Every cent of it paid for by me. Just my YouTube page, youtube.com/Jonny Loquasto. It debuts. I'm doing a live watch party, virtual, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific on Tuesday. If you want to get in the live chat, that helps so much. As you know better than me. Hit the thumbs up, comment, try to join me live, and please spread the link if you enjoy it to as many people as possible.
And I'm going to put the link in the description as well. So if you want to go and you want to search, you can find it in the description of this video. Again, Saudi Stepdad, make sure you check it out. Jonny Loquasto. And as we were talking before, guys, as far as getting into a place where you're upset, you don't know, you're doubting yourself, it's always good to talk to people too. And that's why we're excited to talk to you guys a little bit more about BetterHelp. Here you go. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everybody's been in that position, man. You're trying to go to sleep, and your thoughts just keep going and going and going. You're talking, and you have worries in your life, and you're like, I can't turn it off. I can't rest. I can't sleep, and I can't do this. And everybody's been there. I've been there. You've been there. And a great way to make those racing thoughts go away is to be able to talk them out, talk them through to somebody. Therapy will give you a place to do that, so you can get out of your negative thought cycles and find some mental and emotional peace. I've mentioned it many times on this show. Roxy Stryer is a very close friend of mine. She's on the show all the time, and she talks about how BetterHelp was one of those places she was able to go. She was able to benefit from it. She was able to talk to somebody, and it really worked out. I've got people very close inside of my family using BetterHelp right now, and it has been absolutely beneficial to them. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's online, it's designed to be convenient, it is flexible, and it is suited to your schedule. All you have to do really is just fill out a brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime, no additional charge. So get a break from your thoughts with BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/bigthing today. You get 10% off your first month when you do that. That's BetterHelp.com/bigthing. All right. Thank you to our friends over at BetterHelp. As I mentioned with Roxy, I mentioned with people in my family, they've used it. It's been tremendous for them. So use the link in the description. Please go and talk to somebody if you need to. I want to go back to wrestling for a second.
Okay.
So because you and I know a lot of the same people in the same space. Like Chris Van Vliet's a good buddy of mine now. I know that.
Yeah, we talked yesterday, actually.
Chris is an awesome dude, and he's crushing it on both of his channels. And he's one of the hardest working guys that I know because he's got like this. Are you watching One Piece?
I know what my daughters are. I know what One Piece is.
Yeah.
That's about as far as my knowledge in the anime world goes.
So, but it's a live action show on Netflix as well. That's what I started watching, and I love it.
I heard it's amazing.
It's amazing, but the main character is Monkey D. Luffy, and he has this zest for life, and he's always smiling. He's Chris Van Vliet.
Yeah.
He's like, Chris Van Vliet is just the happiest dude, and it's not bullshit. He's just and he's so positive.
You know why? Canadian.
Yeah, for
Canadians
sure.
are happy.
But he's just such a good guy, and and his whole thing is positivity, believing in yourself, going for your dreams, doing all this stuff, and you see it. And like he's one of those people that when I say you root for good people, he should be at the top of the list. You root for a Chris Van Vliet, but whether it's Chris Van Vliet, Steve Simone, these people that we just know together. I think in the wrestling side of it, how did you interact with Paul Heyman at all?
Unfortunately, I've only met him, but we never had a chance to actually like work together. I mean, I was on I was going to SmackDown TV tapings in the beginning of 2020 because 205 Live was after SmackDown. Then they moved it to before SmackDown. 205 Live was like a ping pong ball. They didn't know what to do with it. So he was there, kind of, sort of, but I never crossed paths really. He was
such he was in a place that probably better than anybody how cliquey that place can be, right? He was my guy. Right?
You're not the only person that has told me that.
Yeah.
He's been incredible to many people.
He was just very, very encouraging to me. He was very I've told this story before, but like when I first got in there to get the job, he's like, "Come here, I got a feeling about you." And I said, "What?" And he put the headphones on me and had me call a match he had the booth, the sound, and he goes, "Good." He's like, and I ate it. I wasn't ready for it. I just wasn't. I mean, and it was also 2000 or it was a 23-year-old me.
Sure.
I didn't have that experience like I do today. I think I would have done a lot better, but hindsight, right? But
you can't just jump in and call a match. That's a very hard job.
But what he did see though was the fact this is what I do now. It's what I do now, and I was doing it for Schmodown, and I was doing all that stuff too. So he wasn't wrong in the fact that like I did, and that was part of the encouragement.
He saw the performer.
He saw the performer, and in a room, with I was sitting here, and it was Michael P.S. Hayes, Stephanie, Brian, and who else? Shoot, I'm trying to think who else was there.
Shane.
Shane was not there. Shane was not part of the creative team when I was there, but he was involved, but he was not part of the creative team.
Maybe JR.
No, it was JR was there, but no, Bruce Pritchard.
Okay.
He was from that meeting alone. He's like, "Come here," and he put me at the table, and he was just always giving me advice, always doing these things. But he was very kind of encouraging in that way, and where I didn't really fit into that place. I just didn't. And
it's crazy because like I will say this, everyone there is very professional because that's the rule. So everyone is like, "Hello, how you doing?" Like that kind of thing. But as far as people going out of their way, now at the Performance Center, I had a lot of friends because that's kind of like the camaraderie there, and I'm sure it still continues to this day. I've heard the camaraderie there is amazing with all the new talent they have. But the camaraderie was great because everyone is essentially, yes, it's competitive, but everyone is helping each other. And to me, I was like first one in, last one to leave. I tried to take I love sitting in on Terry Taylor's skull sessions, all that stuff.
Great.
It was amazing.
The Red Rooster. I love the Red Rooster.
Dude, he didn't. I can tell you that. He did not enjoy it.
I'm sure he did.
He'll tell you about it. But yeah, I mean, the camaraderie there is amazing. Then you get to TV, all of a sudden you're a new person, you're kind of scared, you don't know who to talk to.
Right.
And to me, the person that really stood out the most, who unfortunately just passed away a month ago, was Bray Wyatt.
Oh, shit.
One of the most talented people in the history of the business. So the way it works is they would have the locker room for the athletes, for the competitors, for the wrestlers.
Sure.
They had like one separate room called like the broadcasters room. But really nobody was in there because, Michael Cole was busy all day. Corey Graves was busy all day. Greg Hamilton was the ring announcer. So sometimes it would just be kind of me and him. But then when SmackDown would start, he was out at ringside. So it was essentially just me preparing for 205 Live. So Bray decided, because this is after The Fiend debuted. He had a lot of gear.
Yeah.
He decided he needed more space. He decided to come in just about every Friday. He would hang out in our locker room, and many times during SmackDown, it would just be me and him. And I was intimidated at first. It's Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
When I tell you, and everyone's told these stories, so it's not just me. I mean, the most welcoming, genuine, down-to-earth person you ever could have met. Like, he talked to me like we were an equal.
Yeah.
We were not equal.
Right.
I was nobody. I'm a low-level announcer in the company, just trying to work my way up. He was so cool to talk to. And, like, I remember one day, so there was a run on TV where they had him booked in the dark main event every Friday night, meaning even if The Fiend wasn't on television, he would do the main event after it went off the air. Because, you want to send the fans home with something cool. And I remember one day, one night he came in, he goes, tell you, man, just one night, I would love to be able to go home early. And I remember I go, that's what you get for being over, brother. He goes, yeah, you're right. You're right. And
yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I heard nothing but great things about him. And I will say, as you mentioned, Michael Cole was actually
who was
really
also
good.
amazing to me. I can't speak highly of him. I'm really grateful for what I learned from him too.
He was actually really kind to me as well too. Kurt Angle was. But when I hear you talk about how it is now, it's as big as it was in 2001. It wasn't as kind of corporate with sectioned. I mean, there was still that old school kind of like the boys type thing where you felt, even though the WWE was still WWF when I was there, and it was just before that.
They didn't get the F out yet.
I was
in
the meeting though. I was in the meeting when they were talking about how could they beat this WWF the wildlife thing? Could they beat it? And they didn't know, and if they were going. I remember being in that meeting, but yeah, it was very different. Where I don't know if the writers if they interact with Vince as much now at all. We were on the plane with him. Like it was weird. It's like you were just part of, and it was like SmackDown was on Tuesdays. It was on Thursdays. It was.
SmackDown was also very new.
It
still
was pre-taped at some point. With it was nuts. It was like a full-on being part of a traveling circus. Like, and especially when I was such a mark at the time when I came in, I was like a major like I was major like fan. Like when I come in, I'm just like I got to try that. I remember when I first got there, I had to balance again. 23-year-old kid trying to balance out. Don't be a mark. Be a.
Oh, me too. I regret I never took photos. And in hindsight, I learned my lesson because I'm very traditionalist. I'm going to be professional. In hindsight, I wish I would have taken more photos, not to post on social media, just to
have them for
them.
yourself. It was funny,
and I didn't do it.
Again, this is for me. I didn't even have the luxury at the time because I had the flip phone. But I do have that moment from SmackDown with me and The Rock and how that kind of came to be. So that was pretty awesome. But like. I remember when I first got there, I'm in the hotel and I had these bags from like everything I owned at one point because my mom lived in Queens and from Stanford it wasn't not that far, but I had to get it there. So when I get my first thing when I'm in the hotel, I see Stone Cold and Deborah at the time. They were married, and I got to introduce myself. I mean, obviously I have to introduce myself, right? So I went up to him and I introduced myself. He was very nice and everything too. But then after a while, he's just like, "This guy writer, I'm out of here," and he left. And I mean, he's at the height. He just turned heel against The Rock at 17. He's like, he's in the height of heeldom at this point. And so all this, like, just trying to balance the two of it of being like, am I a super fan? Am I a right? I had nobody minus Paul Heyman when he would have conversation with me. I had nobody guiding me. I was really kind of just on my own. And I told this story once before, but this the most cringeworthy thing you'll know. Did they still do like the company meetings before every event?
I wouldn't know if they do. I was definitely not a part of them, so I have no idea.
They did the whole company too when I was there. Like it didn't matter if you were an announcer, writers, they would do these meetings before each event. And you would have the entire company, and Vince would talk to
ringside or
no. It was not ringside. It was in the back, whatever meeting it was, whatever room it was.
In NXT, that would happen post broadcast. There would be a kind of a conference that Triple H would have, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that was always cool. But no, as far as when I went to TV, it was
okay. No. So they would bring the entire company before each event, SmackDown, Raw, whatever it was, the big pay-per-views, whatever too. And because I was there for SummerSlam and whatever, and they called everybody in the room, and they had everybody there, and I was like, okay, I had just gotten there. I mean, maybe a day, 2, and I'm going, all right, well, I need to stand out, right? So they were talking, and Vince says something. So, well, if anybody has any questions, and I throw my hand up, and I said something, and I see Vince go, fuck is this guy? I see kind of his eyes, and I was like, all right, well, I just asked the question. And then the meeting keeps going on. It keeps going on. It keeps going on. Maybe 15 minutes later, I'm like, I got another one. And I see him basically like, okay. And then Coach goes afterwards. Coachman, I don't know. He's way gone before when you got there, right?
Oh,
Coach,
yeah.
So Coach comes and goes, you're dead. And I go, what? He's like, nobody asked 1 question. You asked 2. And I was like, and right then I knew I was fucking dead.
And he was being dead serious too. He wasn't
he was laughing, but he was serious. And like it was. I mean, but the thing was, Vince liked my stuff. Like Vince kept coming. Stephanie told me as much. She's like, he likes what you're doing. Go see him. And I wrote like a rap for the Acolytes or something.
Okay.
And I wrote this rap, and at the time I was really into Eminem, and I still am, but I was really. I mean, that was the height of it. So what I loved about what Eminem would do is he could rhyme words that didn't rhyme. That's what I loved, and I did that a couple of times. And Vince's like, these 2 don't rhyme. I go, yeah, but that's kind of like what Eminem. He's like, make them rhyme. And I was like, okay. So I made them rhyme.
So you had direct interactions.
Oh,
okay.
I worked with them all the time.
Wow.
All the time. And like they would send me in. They'd be like, okay, do this. And I also should say that Brian Gewirtz was also very, very. I mean, I still talk to Brian now.
Oh, that's cool.
Runs $7.
He's done very well for himself.
Yeah. Him and The Rock, they were tight, even obviously back then. But yeah, he was, and he is, like I said, I still keep in touch with Brian. But yeah, so it's us. But the reason the other person, have you interacted at all with Freddie Prinze Jr.?
No, I was supposed to a couple of weeks ago. So he is now the co-owner of a premier streaming network.
Yes.
I'm really, I have a great relationship with the other owners of it. I did their first wrestling showcase. I called it last year, and then they just had it a few weeks ago. I came in and did the kickoff show. Freddie was supposed to be there, but a lot of people had travel issues that weekend. Like a couple wrestlers couldn't make it in. Freddie couldn't make it in. So we have actually not met yet. Really? I look forward to the day of meeting him because I feel like him and I have very, very similar mindsets when it comes to pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And I'm also friends with Jeff Dye, who he does the podcast with. You know, we go way back. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, I just want to meet Freddie to be like, hey, dude, if you ever really do start something, I'm like, I got your play-by-play guy.
So that's actually why I brought it up, because like Freddie's become a good friend of mine now. Like,
that's awesome.
And Freddie's like Freddie was on the show not too long ago, and Freddie's awesome. Freddie and I go back and forth about. He's awesome, and he's just such a good dude, and he's zen, and he's a family guy, but like knows his wrestling obviously back and forth. Really is a passion of his, and like.
Of course, he was head writer. Yeah. He didn't have to be.
He didn't have
He's
to
Freddie
be.
Prinze Jr.
No, and he did it, and he talks about it on the show all the time. So I'm not speaking out of turn, but he talks about like what he did with his deal. You know, how he got points, and he got stuff in the company. You know, it's like and sold his shit and made a lot of money off doing it, and that's why he's able to probably do what he wants to do with this wrestling thing. And he went back and he took time off from acting for a bit. He went back. He started doing some more stuff. So yeah, I think that you guys should definitely meet, because like once he does start his thing, like I think you'd be perfect for him.
I'd be honored. I mean, look, I know what I bring to the table, and right now I'm freelancing everywhere: boxing, MMA, wrestling, and I stay as sharp as I possibly can be, ready for any opportunity. Like, honest to God, if any company wanted to throw me on national television tomor's, I'd do my homework and I'd be ready. So
I'll fire over Freddie text for sure. Tell him take a look at you, because I think you guys would get along. He's awesome.
It's great that he also co-owns Premiere. Premiere is really growing as far as streaming options for combat sports too. So
all right. Anything else as far as you've been? So have you been checking out like any of the movies and like things that have been harder to do because you're trying to freelance? And you've been catching up with any movies, TV or?
I did see the most recent Indiana Jones.
And what'd you think?
So here's the cool thing.
Yeah.
Our 12-year-old, he's our son, he had never seen Indiana Joneses.
Okay.
And he's like, should we go see the new one? I'm like, no.
You gotta watch the other ones.
You gotta watch the first 2.
Yeah.
I'm like,
first 3. Last Crusade?
Yeah, Last Crusade was good. We didn't see it though. We ran out of time.
Oh man.
I loved it. But So we watched Raiders, and this is what's crazy is after we watched the two, I didn't realize that Temple of Doom took place before Raiders.
Yeah.
Blew my mind.
Yeah, it's like Club Obi-Wan and all that stuff, the way that the little prequel side of it, although it doesn't really make a lot of sense because like if he had gone through all that stuff in Temple of Doom with Mola Ram and all of that, he wouldn't be as skeptical he was in the first movie. He's skeptical about so much stuff. It's like, dude, you saw somebody get their heart ripped out and still live. It's like, what are you talking about? But yeah, that movie what did you think of the most recent one?
I mean, we loved it. It was obviously every Indiana Jones is out there. You're gonna have us. Now, I will say this: at his age, I'm not saying Harrison Ford, for Indiana Jones to be doing what he did in that movie, he's taken a lot of collagen, he's taken a lot of fish oils, maybe a little HGH. Because holy shit, I've never seen a man that age do what he did in that movie. But we loved it. It was all over the place. But hey, Indiana Jones fighting Nazis. That's what we pay for.
Better than Crystal Skull.
Yes, it was.
You know, I did. I took speaking of doing stuff with the kids, I took my oldest. She's going to be 12 soon.
Wow.
And I know. I went and we saw Ed Sheeran at SoFi. So I had never been. My dad got the tickets for my wife and I for Christmas, and my wife couldn't do it because my little one was not feeling well, so we didn't have a babysitter, so whatever. And we're like, let's just take my oldest, who had just seen Taylor Swift there. But I was like, she's going to know. I like Ed Sheeran. I think Ed Sheeran is a very talented dude. I don't know his songs the way my daughter does, right? So my daughter went, dude, this guy, you talking about performer? He is a electric performer. Do you know how many people were in that stadium on Saturday night?
I've never been in there, but what, close to 80?
81,000 people. It was the single day record that he broke. He just beat Metallica from like 2 weeks ago.
Beat WrestleMania?
Single day.
Single day. Gotcha.
Single day. Because I think in Taylor Swift 2 days, whatever it was, but single day, he had 81,000 in there. And this dude, like when you think Ed Sheeran's music, you think of this one particular kind of tone that he has.
Yeah.
He's running around the stage and like the light show. I mean, he's going for over 2.5 hours, doesn't take a break, and just moves. I mean, I didn't know all the songs, but I was really impressed with how he performed, and you talk about like passion and love for whatever you're really into. This guy just loves playing music, and you can just tell. But SoFi's an incredible stadium.
And the cool thing is, you gave her another on top of Taylor Swift. Now Ed Sheeran, you gave her two memories that she'll remember like 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Because we forget like the stuff we remember when we were little kids.
Yep.
You have the opportunity to do that for your kids now. Even when it's something that you don't think is major as an adult, they're going to remember it.
That was the idea, because my wife was like, yeah, I don't know if I was like, she's like, were you bummed that I didn't go with you? I was like, yes, but I really liked spending that time with my daughter and knowing exactly what you just said, that she's going to always remember that. She's going to remember seeing she liked Ed Sheeran's music, but now she's going to become more of a fan. Mm-hmm. And why? Because she's going to remember that going to the concert with her dad and that type of stuff. And there's only so long before your 12-year-old turns into a 6-year-old who wants nothing to do with me when teenagers, and then eventually
know what that's like.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
but then eventually she's when she gets older, and then in her 20s and her 30s we'll become close again. I'm prepared for it. I know that it's the cycle. It happens to so many people, but to be able to have that, it was great. But it was a nice moment for sure. What else you got going down? Well, you get the special, man. I mean, that's everything.
Right now, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay Quasto on social media platforms. Fortunately, doing a lot of voiceover work all across the voiceover realm. Doing stand up. I'm hoping this special can help me get out a little bit more with stand up and doing play by play to whomever wants to bring me in. So.
Well, it was a pleasure to have you on the show as always.
Honored to be here, man. It's good to catch up. We
For sure.
have so many random things we can talk about. I hope the audience is able to follow all this stuff.
I'm sure that they will. And again, check out the special. It is in the link in the description right now. Make sure you support Jonny. We'll watch it live. And that's it, man. So thanks for joining us once again. Apple Podcast, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. Check out one of our wonderful sponsors. Like I said, if you're able to, you have the means to, check out one of our sponsors. It helps out this show tremendously, but it also will help you out and get you something that you potentially need. So if you haven't hit that button, show a little. 100,000. We're almost there. All right, for me and Jonny, we'll see you on the flip side. Peace.